Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is March 4, 2024, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, we're watching big tech pushing the NASDAQ to new record highs. But first, no major economic events scheduled for today. So as we look at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, the major pairs really unchanged while the Turkish Lira continues to make new lows versus the US dollar. And as we look at the indices, the NASDAQ making new record highs while the Dow Jones does gain and getting closer to its record highs as well. Now looking at commodities, gold and oil both breaking out to the upside. And as we look at the stocks, it's Meta, NVIDIA, Amazon, and AMD all on their highs or breaking out higher to new record highs. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin also breaking higher as well. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go, starting out with the Turkish Lira. Now another week, another low for the Turkish Lira. That's been our mantra for quite some time. We're at 31.37. Last week we were at 31.19, between 31.19 and 31.17. Not a big deal, just a couple of pips, another 20 pips, another 20 pips, 20 pips per week. Multiply that by 4 weeks, okay? That comes out to about 80 to 100 pips every 1 or 2 months, okay? So it continuously making new lows versus the dollar. Nothing has changed, so I just want to highlight it, okay? Really just a very simple trade. Now jumping into the Japanese yen. Now we're consolidating here close to the low of the Japanese yen versus the dollar. It's not a big deal. It didn't change that much, but just you want to be aware of it and keep it on the back burner because in case it does break out, it's going to have that major move, okay? Because the markets are moving, and at a certain point, the Forex symbols are going to catch up to it, and that's what's going to happen here as well. Now jumping into commodities, starting out with gold. Look at that nice spike on the way up. Now, a couple of things that led us into this moment. Number one, we had a crossover between the 8-day and the 30-day moving average. That's the red line over the blue line. Number two, you see that towards closer to it, okay, we were really mimicking that 2137 and couldn't break out of it for quite some time. But once we broke out of it, that's a breakout move. Now we are at resistance. 2087-ish level right now is resistance. So keep that in mind. We may just see ourselves spiking right back down, which would be a V formation. So keep that as an option. Crude oil also finally breaking out of that 78.50. It was very, very aggressively on that area. Now, it hasn't broken the $80 range, okay? $80 at all, just touching it and then retracing. So keep that in mind also. That's also a factor to consider. That's a round number. And if we don't clear it, it means it'll retrace from it. Now, jumping into the U.S. markets, the NASDAQ, or should I call it King NASDAQ, okay? This thing has just not taken any kind of prisoners. I mean, it just keeps on going higher and higher. Let's take a look at a weekly chart. And has gone continuously since 2022-ish time. So this is really important, okay? Because we're at really some tremendous areas here for the NASDAQ, which really is reflecting on some of the big tech stocks. Not all of them, but some of the big tech stocks. So let's take a look at which ones it is, and then we'll look at which ones are not, because that's also very important. But before we do that, let's jump into the Dow Jones. Dow Jones pivoted higher, but didn't break to new highs, okay? The bank stocks have been relatively strong, specifically JP Morgan hasn't sustained it. It may take a rotation, but hasn't sustained it. So jumping into the strongest stocks, okay, number one was Facebook. Facebook has been just there ever since it came out with its quarterly earning reports, had that gap up, held it, pushed a little bit higher, held it, pushed a little bit higher, and then finally, we gapped up last Friday, and we just went to $500 a share. Now, this thing a year and a half ago was trading at 80 bucks. Okay, talk about a recovery. This is one that goes into the books. Now, jumping into the other major pair that has been, the major stock that has been very strong, AMD. AMD is another competitor to NVIDIA and another competitor to Intel. And it shows, okay, $200, also big recovery for them. NVIDIA above $822 on its record highs, okay, it didn't break out higher, but on its record highs, so you see some strength there. The other one that moved out higher was Amazon. Amazon's been very, very strong, all-time record highs there, 178, Big recovery there as well. This is almost twice as much as it was just last year. And really a very, very good call for them to have split the stock from 20 to 1. If you remember, they did that. It was a $2,000 stock. So multiply this by 20, and that's almost 3,800. That's a big, big move up for Amazon. Okay, so that $2,000 stock would have been now at 3,000 almost. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, looking at the stocks that didn't go up, okay, even though JP Morgan did go up, didn't hold that and just sold off towards the end of the day, still a relatively strong stock. Let's take a look at it. Apple did not. This is not encouraging for the Apple stock. This means on a day when the market hits new record highs, Apple did not. That's disconcerting for us, okay, just in general. Now, lastly, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Also, join the bandwagon on the upside to 64,100-ish level, just about $4,000 off of its all-time record highs. Big recovery there. Let's see if it'll push it this week. Again, if you do decide to trade with it, just be very cautious and very careful. Defense, offensive kind of trading. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.